Namaste. Welcome to the first Yin Yoga offering of Blissed Yoga. And for today, we are going to be cultivating this idea of the opposite. So moving the body in the opposite direction that we are used to moving it on a daily basis. And to support your practice today, I would suggest grabbing a bolster. And if you don't have a bolster, no worries. Another really great option is to roll up a blanket lengthwise, or to grab a couple cushions off of the couch or your bed and place them beside each other and then roll them up in a blanket, just so that it's a bit, looks a little bit more like the bolster here. So feel free to pause the video right now and grab those props if you would like. And once you're ready, placing the prop lengthwise on the mat, coming to sit in front of the prop, just so that the sacrum is just kissing the prop. And don't mind my co-host today. From here, you guys, bringing the soles of the feet to touch and then allowing the knees to really just fall open from one another, coming into this butterfly shape. But from here, allowing the torso to just really scroll down onto your mat, coming into this supported Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly pose. Allowing the arms to just open up and extend in whatever angle suits you today. And if at any time your legs begin to ache or your back begins to ache, feel free to remove the prop or extend the legs out long. Always taking the first few moments of class to really just come into ourself. So closing your eyes or having a gentle gaze. Begin bringing yourself into this space and into your body. Begin noticing the qualities of your inhales and your exhales. Noticing the depth of your breath. Perhaps noticing the coolness of your inhales and the warmth of your exhales. Really opening across the chest. And bringing your attention now to the length of your breath. And if it feels comfortable for you, inhale for a count of 3. And exhale for a count of 4. Filling the belly, ribs, and chest with breath. And on an exhale, releasing chest, ribs, and belly. Breathing in fully. Exhaling completely. Feel the breath as it starts to really open up the space of the heart. scanning your body and your mind for areas of tension. And with Yin Yoga, we hold our poses for about 3 to 5 minutes to really get into the connective tissues. And while we're holding, we're letting go of any muscular exertion. So we're not tensing the body, but rather surrendering and releasing with every breath. Allowing ourselves to be held by the pose rather than holding the pose. Using gravity and traction to support our yin practice today. And because we are still throughout yin, it's an opportunity for us to really check in with what comes up during these perhaps uncomfortable moments. Uncomfortable maybe because we're feeling the edge of the pose, but also uncomfortable because we might not be used to being still like this with ourselves. Breathing into your belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, belly. If you find that your mind wanders throughout practice today, just gently guiding it back to these beautiful inhales and exhales. Allow yourself to be here. Taking one more breath cycle here, filling the entire torso with breath. And exhale, surrender. Taking your hands to the outsides of your knees and just gently guiding them in towards one another. Soles of the feet onto the mat. And from here, just remembering that you're on support, begin rolling off of the prop, coming onto the mat, curling into a ball and using your bottom arm as a pillow. Just take a moment here. Taking a moment to honor the time that you've set aside to do some self-care. At the end of your exhale, just pressing into your top hand and begin rolling the body up. Head and neck come up last, just being mindful through the transitions. Just placing the prop off to the side. Coming into a tabletop position. So stacking your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. Tuck your toes and just come to sit back onto your toes. Now this one can be really juicy, so if you need to, know that you can always sit up. If the glutes can come towards the heels, start to untuck your toes so that they're all touching the mat. And then place the hands onto the thighs and allow the palms to face up towards the sky. Closing your eyes or having a gentle gaze, and just begin feeling what you feel here in the feet. Moving the toes in the opposite direction. Breathe in and fill the belly, ribs, and chest with breath. And on your exhale, release chest, ribs, and belly. Notice what comes up for you as we hold this posture. The fascia, as we move down the body, is often thicker or tighter. So we tend to hold the postures of the lower body for a bit longer, but with that we feel the edge and we feel the work sooner. Using your breath as your anchor. Relax and soften the tops of the shoulders away from your ears, and notice if any tensions cropped up in between the eyebrows. And knowing that you can release out of this and then come back in at any time. Take one more beautiful breath cycle here. And exhale, release, slowly come back into a tabletop position, moving very mindfully. Allow the toes to uncurl and just give them a gentle tap. Sit back onto your, and from here, extending the arms out in front of you, allow the palms to face away from one another. Take the right arm and cross it over top of the left, seeing if we can clasp the hands here. And this might be where you go, and that's perfect. We want to feel a stretch in the forearms. If there's a little bit more space and you would like to give it a try, see if you can tuck the hands in towards one another, and then stopping wherever you need to. And then perhaps we can unscroll the arms so they're almost facing backwards. Taking a couple breaths in whatever variation you stopped in. And then allowing the hands to move up and away from the face. Breathing in and creating space in the forearms, especially if you work a lot with your hands, you're at a computer, or doing anything that requires this movement of the forearm. Taking one more breath cycle. And on your exhale, begin folding the hands in towards yourself again, releasing that. And then taking it over to the other side. So crossing your left hand over your right, seeing if we can clasp hands here, and noticing if it feels a little different as we move from side to side. Folding the hands in towards yourself. Honoring the differences between the right and left sides of the body. On an inhale, move the hands up and away from you, while at the same time softening the tops of our shoulders. And then coming back to your breath. This idea of opposites also brings to mind the male and female aspects of our being, Ida and Pingali Nadi, yin and yang, sun and moon. Taking one more inhale here. And on your exhale, slowly bring the hands back, extending the arms one more time out in front of you, and maybe just make some movements with the fingers here. Bringing the arms down, come back into your tabletop position. So stacking your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. Again, just moving with some mindful movement here. On an inhale, allow the chest to open up towards the front of the room as the tail and crown lift. Exhale, press into the hands, curl the tailbone to the space between the knees, and the head and chin fall. Inhale, tail and crown towards the sky as the chest broadens. Exhale, belly button kisses the spine as the chin falls towards the chest. One more time, inhale. Exhale. Next inhale, bring your right foot, step or carry the right foot in between the hands, coming into a low lunge. So if your back knee is feeling a little bit of tension on the floor, know that you can always roll your mat over or place a blanket there for support. So stacking our right knee on top of our right ankle, really allowing and sinking into this pose. Another really good option is to have your prop placed underneath you that we used in the beginning to just allow the hands to touch, and it just brings some softness to this pose. And once you have found your space here, just soften the body and feel your pelvis surrender down to the floor, bringing us back to this idea of cultivating the opposite. So our psoas or our hips are so often doing flexion throughout our day with sitting, walking, driving. So bringing this in the opposite direction and really allowing some extension through the left hip. Breathe into the space of the hip, filling it with breath. And on your exhale, release. Feel your body surrender closer towards the mat. Just working with your breath here. And if you feel like your body has begun to surrender and let go, it can often be nice to tuck the toes of the back foot and shimmy your knee back slightly just to find that next edge. So in Yin Yoga, we want to continually find this space of your next edge, this place of being comfortably uncomfortable. And then once you've found it, really sinking into this space and using your breath as your anchor. Breathing into the spaces that have perhaps tensed up, so your glute, your shoulders, just see if we can be soft in those areas. Soft in the face. Letting go of any muscular holding on. Take 3 more expansive breath cycles here, really breathing all the way up the spine. And as you exhale, feel the breath as it travels all the way back down the spine. And on your exhale, press into the hands and very gently start to move the right foot to come back to meet the left, being mindful through our transitions here. And then coming into the other side, so keeping your prop where it is if you would like, and just stepping or carrying the left foot now to the front of the prop. Taking a moment to really stack the left knee on top of the left ankle, perhaps shimmying that right knee back. Always taking the first few moments to really just settle into your pose, perhaps placing the blanket or moving the mat underneath the knee. And then exhale and sink into the pose. Coming into your first edge. If you ever feel any pain or sharp sensations in the knees or in the body, that's a sign that Just need to come out of the pose, perhaps take a different variation or just ease off a little bit. So always honoring what your body's telling. Feeling your body breathe you here. Breathing into your right hip, your right psoas. Noticing any emotion that may come up for you here. We tend to hold many of our emotions in our hips. And when we be here with time, we stir up these emotions, and on an exhale, just release it. Let it go. Let it float by. Come back to this place of surrender and letting go. Perhaps noticing if you've let go on the right side to the point where maybe we can find our next edge here. So tucking the toes and just shimmying that right knee back, and then sinking down for the last few breath cycles here. Again, maybe even noticing the differences between the right and left sides of our body. Attaching to anything, but just being the noticer, being the observer. And then with an exhale, just letting that go. You are exactly where you need to be in this pose and in your life. Using our breath to help navigate us through these challenging times, through this challenging posture perhaps. Take 3 more breath cycles here on this side. Releasing any muscular effort. And on your next exhale, put some weight into your hands and begin taking the left foot back to meet the right. Maybe moving the prop out of the way. And from here, knees come mat width apart and your big toes touch. Coming into child's pose. Also really a nice option if you would like to place your bolster again lengthwise along the mat. And just sink the torso down onto the bolster, resting your right cheek down. Breathing into your low back. And then turning your gaze and placing the left cheek onto the prop or the mat. Filling the low back with your breath on every inhale. And on your exhale, feel your hips move closer towards your heels. Releasing and letting go. And then bringing your gaze back to center, begin crawling your fingertips towards yourself. Scrolling the spine up, head and neck come up last. If you use the prop, just gently placing it off towards the sides. Come to sit onto your left glute, bringing the soles of the feet towards the ground and maybe just crawling back towards the top of your mat. On an inhale, reach forward like you're grabbing something. And on an exhale, slowly begin scrolling the spine down towards the mat. And when you arrive, bringing your knees in towards your chest and just gently rocking side to side, bringing out the low back, the sacrum. And then bring your left leg long onto the mat. Bring your left hand towards the outside of the right knee. Right arm comes out towards the side. Begin rolling over. It's okay if your shoulder lifts. Doesn't matter if your knee touches the ground. Just taking a moment here to really wring out the spine. Breathing into your shoulder. Breathing into your back. And then on an exhale, begin coming back to center. Right leg goes long and your left knee in towards your chest, giving a gentle squeeze here. Right hand towards the outside of the left knee as we begin to roll over to the right now. Left arm out towards the side and just not attaching to whether or not the knee is on the ground. Just taking time to breathe into this space. Gentle wringing out as we begin to close our practice today. Taking one more inhale here. Exhale, release and surrender. And then coming back to center, allow both legs to be long on the mat. Perhaps bringing the mat width apart. Pressing into the elbows so that the shoulders tuck under. Bringing the hands along the body. Closing your eyes. Taking a big inhale together. Exhale out the mouth. Shavasana. Allow the face to be soft. Soaking in your practice. always feeling free to stay here as long as you would like. But if you would like to finish class off together, just begin to bring some gentle movements back into your body. Perhaps wiggling your fingers and your toes, moving your head, maybe even deepening the inhales and the exhales here. But I always like to take a big morning stretch. And then on your exhale, just begin rolling over to your right side, curling into a ball. Taking these last few moments of stillness and silence and soaking it all in and being grateful for the time that you've taken to honor yourself. Pressing into your top hand and slowly begin coming to a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. Sometimes nice to place something underneath the sitting bones. Keeping your eyes closed or having a gentle gaze at the ground ahead of you, allow your tops of hands to rest on your knees, palms facing up. Taking a big inhale here. Exhale. And if it resonates with you, bringing your palms of your hands together at heart center and bowing down towards your heart. Namaste. I would love to hear your comments and your feedback. Leave it in the comments below, and I look forward to all of you again next week. Namaste.